بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين ومنكر فضائلهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة ويطيعون الله ورسوله سيرحمهم الله إن الله عزيز حكيم. Continuing on the subject of love and kinship in the modern age, in our modern time. Last night we spoke about how the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen can and should be the centerpiece of how we relate to one another, how we love one another, how we communicate with each other. And as I mentioned last night, this is often something that is unspoken. It doesn't need to be said, assumed in these sorts of relationships, because these relationships are based on something that is a transcendental principle, right? A principle that is greater than themselves. And if you look around the world and within our own communities and our own selves, and we ask ourselves, how many of our relationships are truly based on something greater than us? Greater than our, what I mean by based on it, meaning the way it operates, the way it functions, the do's, the don'ts, the way we express ourselves in front of each other. And this is done through muscle memory. It's not necessarily done because, we have to actively think about it. It's just because the love of Ali is so ingrained in our heart, the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt is so ingrained in our heart, certain things are assumed in the way we would behave as if we are believers, if we are mu'mineen, and if we have the attributes of. And Allah Azza wa Jal gets right to the point in Surah Tawbah. He gets right to the point. Very clearly, He says the believing men and the believing women are ba'duhum awliya'u ba'd, that they have a relationship with each other which is on the basis of wilaya. So the believing man and the believing woman, how are they as a community? They are awliya to each other. Now the thing is, probably because the majority of the mu'mineen here maybe don't know the Arabic word or have not, maybe most of you do, I don't know. But for a person that doesn't know what the word awliya means, this is a very important word. It's very heavy, it's very profound, because what it literally means is that I am your wali and you are my wali. It's the plural of the word wali. Wali, awliya. Now, wali is of two types. Wali can be your master in the case of Amir al-Mu'mineen, or wali, when it's in the case of your friend, it doesn't only mean friend. It means someone that is so dear to you, so profoundly close to you that, that as the Prophet says, al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min, that they become your mirror. Right? They're the mirror for your life. Right? Al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. And whenever you are absent, they crave your presence and they defend you vociferously and strongly whenever you are not there. For example, if someone was to say one thing about you and you are not in their presence, if that person is your wali, they will defend you. They will not stand for it. They will not stand for it. Because that's a relationship of the believer to the other believer. And all of us are united in the wilaya of Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? Because that's the unifying glue between us. And when we become awliya to one another, يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That everything that is good and everything that is good, we encourage each other to do, and everything that is evil, we discourage each other from. So if something is haram, it's haram. So if someone gets into a marriage and their marriage is not based on al-amru bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, based on what is haram and what is halal, based on the fatawa of the rulings of Ahlul Bayt, as our Maraja al-Kiram, our honorable scholars have taught us, and that's not an Islamic marriage. There is no spirituality in that marriage. It's not a real marriage or relationship as per the Quran. This ayah from Surah Tawbah and many other verses like it, because the first thing Allah says, that if I'm your wali and you are my wali, this can be between friends or spouses, or brothers and sisters, or father and son, the first thing we have to do is al-amru bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. This is the first thing. And then yuqimuna salat. It's so amazing that even before namaz, Allah mentions in al-amru bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. And I talked about those weddings and those problems that people have, and having haram gatherings, and then they have hadith kissa, and then the DJ coming out. We spoke about all of that. There's no wilaya there. Like I said, those akad, and that zawaj is just to make the relationship halal, and inshallah, and the children will be legitimate. I mean, if that is the bar that people set, that low of the basement, then they are not Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali's name should not even be mentioned then, because that can become a boomerang. It can become a curse. I remember one of the Maraja in Najaf. I told Bashir Najafi, once a group of people came to see him. It's very interesting. And they said, oh, Aga, we've come for ziyarat, can you give us some advice? And he turned to them and he told them something very simple. And he said, what is the difference between being a follower of Ali and being a follower of, let's say, one of the Khalifas? People are thinking, what are you talking about? He says, the difference is that on the day of judgment, or the contention between them would be on the day of judgment, the dushman, the enemy of Ahlul Bayt, will turn to Ali and say, your followers said Ali, 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 but they couldn't even follow the very basics of haram and halal. So on that day, the dushman of Ahlul Bayt will have almost a way of embarrassing Ahlul Bayt, in a way. And says, Ali, are these your followers? They said, Ali, Ali, Ali. Yes, the name of Ali is Barakah. We should say it. But Ali, Ali, Ali without wajib and haram? No. It's better not to take the name then, in that way. Unless we're seeking forgiveness from Allah and we're saying, oh Allah, I'm seeking forgiveness from you through the intercession of Amir al-Mu'minin, that's different. But it's like taking his name in vain. Right? And we have traditions like that from the sixth Imam, which says, be an ornament to us. Don't be ashamed to us. That when we take their name, that my name is Ja'far, my name is Ali, my name is Muhammad, my name is Mahdi, my name is Rida, and on and on and on. That name carries a wazn and carries a weight. But the awliya, and who are to each other, right? Because we're walis to one another, we understand this. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهُونَ الْمُنْكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. And then they establish salah. Then they give in charity together. وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And they obey Allah and His Messenger. They obey Allah and His Messenger. Because this is the glue of their relationship. Right? This is the commonality between them. And that's why I mentioned to you that sometimes, or maybe I don't think I mentioned it on the minbar, I have I have an extended family, many of whom are not Muslim. And again, this is no hatred to anyone. Absolutely, their family is family. But if I had to choose my time and where I spend it, in an environment where people's clothing and the things they consume, beverages or foods, are something that is condemned by the Quran and condemned by my Prophet, my heart is not at rest. That's an environment that I want to be out of. I don't even want to be there. It makes me uncomfortable. Because the heart has learned to dislike what Allah dislikes. And the heart learns to love what Allah loves. Like I said, it becomes like muscle memory. You're just automatically revolted by such things. And that is the foundation of wilaya. And that's why we need communities like this, especially for our second and third generation Shia and Muslims. A place where they can get together and the common denominator is the teachings of Islam. The common denominators is the kalam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That's the common denominator, regardless of where they're from, regardless of their ethnic background. And then through that, matchmaking can occur. On that foundation, good matches can be found. Matches that will be sustainable, inshallah, through the difficulties of life. But time and again, I see matches that are made by families upon which the criteria is, oh, his father was so-and-so, his mother was so-and-so, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. Okay. And then where does al-amru bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar wa salat, and this is from the Quran, I'm not being from hadith. Go to the ayah in Surah Tawbah. It's there, the ayah, all the criteria. Just check them one by one, and then once that checkbox is done, then go to the other things. But it's reverse. They say, no, you say it. It's Naqawi, Radawi, Zaydi. I'm not putting down Sadat. My wife is from a family of Alawiyah. So this, I'm not in at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's an honor to be from the family of the Prophet. But how many times do I hear that? I probably would be a billionaire, millionaire by now if I got, like a certain amount of money every time I heard that. Oh, the Radawiyah, Naqawiyah, they're from Naqawis. So yeah, so the descendants of Imam al-Rida didn't accept his imam because they felt he was too black. From his own, they're saying it too, no? I mean, it's so nonsensical, foolish mentality. It has nothing to do with the Quran, nothing to do with the Sunnah, nothing to do with this religion. It is almost like a reincarnation of Hinduism or caste system, maybe, in some way. This blind, slavish mentality, I mean. Not the concept of siyada. It's in the Quran, of course. The concept of those that are from the Prophet, honoring them, giving them charity. Yes, that is from the Quran. That's not what I'm speaking of. I'm speaking about this slavish idea that somehow that is all it is without any other criteria from the Quran. Sayyid marriages break just as much as non-Sayyid marriages do. I'm not picking on Sayyid. I'm saying this is just one example of folk tales or myths that people follow. And then they get into a relationship and it blows up. And the Quran tells us the complete opposite, right? The Quran gives us the guidance. But communities like this can educate our youngsters. And I've seen that, mashallah, and I'm so proud of this community. It may be small in its number, but it's big in its heart. And in its vision, in its understanding. Communities like this and others in North America and Europe are needed to be progressive in the way that is closer to Allah. I don't mean progressive in the way it's used in politics. For the Quran and the Sunnah to be our common denominator that unites us. So what are the two things that we need, right? I've already mentioned family and community. And the verse that I mentioned addresses both. But now I want to go a little bit more into depth in terms of the rights that believers have over each other. Right? If we're going to build this community of love, a kinship of love, brotherhood of love, a marriage of love, There are rights that each one has. And this has been outlined by the Imams. In fact, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was asked about this. And he told his companion, the riwayah is in Al-Kafi. In fact, we have entire books on brotherhood and sisterhood and family life, written in the early period by people like Saduq, right? There's a whole book on brotherhood. Anyhow, the Imam was asked, and the Imam says, are you sure you want to know what brotherhood means? Because once I tell you, it's incumbent upon you to fulfill my words. The companion says, yes, I want to know. So you protecting with your tongue and all of that, fine. The Imam goes on. Not that I'm belittling, I'm just saying I want to get to a further point 5 and 6 in the Imam's discussion here. The first part is general, right? Protecting him with your tongue, with your hands. Defending him or her. Then the Imam says, La tashba'a wa yuju', that you don't quench your hunger and he is hungry. Wala tarwa wa yadhma', and you don't quench your thirst when he is thirsty or she is thirsty. Wala talbas wa ya'ra, and you don't have clothes, meaning it's metaphorical here, and this person is without clothes. Look at this. You are not hungry. He's saying you. I'm not addressing you as you. This is the hadith. He's saying you. I'm not pointing at you. This is what the Imam is saying. Tashba, meaning you, meaning to his companion. That you go hungry if he is hungry. You are thirsty if he is thirsty. Look at that. You are without clothes if he is without clothes. Not literally, meaning it's a state of being, a feeling in your heart, your lifestyle. Then the Imam says, if you have someone that cleans your house, look at how it's so specific. Remember, the brother asked me yesterday, what's the recipe for it, right? I'm bringing it now. He says, if you have someone that cleans your house, al-khadim lak, khadimun lak. If you have a servant, a cleaner, it basically is what he's saying, a maid or a cleaner, that comes and takes care of things around your house and makes your bed. وَلَيْسَ لِأَخِيكَ, but your brother doesn't have it, or your sister. فَوَاجِبٌ أَن تَبْعَثَ خَادِمَكَ, it is now wajib on you to send that person to your brother's house. This is the meaning of wali. Awliya, the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, of course, because the connection is a wilayat of the Prophet and Imam Ali and Ahlul Bayt. So the Imam says it's wajib upon you to send that servant, that cleaner, to your brother's house so that he can clean his clothes, make his food, and tidy his bed. How many of us think of our relationships in that level? And here we're not just speaking about your blood brother. No, we're talking about your spiritual brothers and sisters. That's their right. Imam says, wajibun. When Imam uses the word wajib, of course, I'm not saying it's in Risala Amaliyah, it's akhlaqiyan wajib. Like from the point of ethics, just like it's, haram to backbite. Right? It's wajib to think good of your brother, right? This is very profound. Then the Imam goes on to say, he says, then you are to fulfill his wish and answer his call even before he calls you, meaning his request. That you are to know his situation or her situation so well, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, whatever it is. You should be aware of your brother and sister's situation such that you answer their need before they ask you, before the question. Since once they ask, they're humiliated then. State of zil, they're feeling humiliated, feeling low, feeling down. So The Imam is saying, because you share that love of Allah, His Messenger, Salat, Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf, because you share these principles of the religion, you're so close to your brother or your sister in Iman and faith that you already know what they need. Even if it's just an ear to talk to one night. If it means just driving over and seeing your brother, they're having a tough time, and having a cup of tea with them without them reaching out. This is not optional if we have a community of faith. This is incumbent in order to strengthen it. And then the Imam says, and if he is sick or she is sick, you are with them in their time of sickness. And when they pass, you testify over their janazah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's very beautiful. And why? Because the Prophet has told us in a very beautiful narration that waddul mu'min lil mu'min fillah min a'zam shu'b al-iman, that the love of a believer for another believer is the greatest expression of your faith. That if you want to know if your iman is something that you're implementing, then ask yourself, what is the status of my relationship with my brothers and sisters in my community? How do I treat them? Because here the Prophet is saying that why isn't that kafi? That this is the greatest, or one of the greatest ways of expressing our faith, our iman, because otherwise iman is just a concept. Faith is a concept, but it has to come to life. And then the Prophet goes on to say that this is a person that hates for God, loves for God, denies something for God, and gives for God. And when they do this all for God, for Allah, then they become purified. Now, obviously, this applies to our brothers and sisters, and more so even with our wife, or wife with husband. But what is that nikah based on? What is that zawaj? What is that marriage based on to begin with? Lust? Infatuation? That's not going to get you there. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be godly. And then we wonder why people are agitated and sad and angry and disassociated from one another. Because Islam gives us all of these ingredients for healthy relationships. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So what are some practical things that we can do now in order to build this strength, this capacity within us? Number one, we should be studying the words of Ahlul Bayt. We should know them. How many of us have a book of hadith, or read a book of hadith, or read a book of narrations of the Ahlul Bayt at least multiple times a week? That's a question to ask. There's so much out there. Scale of Wisdom, Nahj al-Balagha, which my institute made an open access, right? The first English translation of Nahj al-Balagha by Dr. Tahir Qutbuddin. The other one is from Urdu. This is an English one published by Brill. It's available online for free. One of the best with the Arabic and the English and notes of Nahj al-Balagha. There's Kamil al-Ziyarat. There are so many works. Baytul Ahzan, Scale of Wisdom. There are so many beautiful works in English which have the words of Ahlul Bayt in them. How many of us take a little bit of time, maybe even between namaz, between salah, when we first get up in the morning, before going to bed, whatever it is, how many of us take a little bit of time out to read the kalam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? And then the more you do this, day after day and week after week and month after month, you yourself will see the difference. You will see the barakah and blessings in your life. It is like an automatic, life improvement skill, life improvement technique. Choose an important book of theology. If you don't know Tawheed and Imama and justice and all of these things, choose a book of theology. How many of us have read a single book of theology from cover to cover? Then we say, oh, this, that, we don't know. Everything is available. Everything now is available. I don't think we've ever had as many resources in the Shia community than we do in 2025. There's a book, Theological Instructions by Misbah Yazdi. Pick it up. Find an alim, maybe on Zoom even, to teach you. If you have to give some support to that person, then do so. The person deserves it. They become your mu'allim, your teacher. Do we have a teacher? Well, you have a shaykh here, alhamdulillah. So I'm sure you are engaging his services. But in addition to that, you can't teach every single person, all the time. You will see the difference, I guarantee you. But if you, our dear mu'mineen and mu'minat, are not making the effort, then naturally this feeling of estrangement, loss, absence of the deen, absence of Allah in our life will be there. This is normal. I, as an educator, the difference between those that invest their time as a family in furthering their religious knowledge and those who don't. The results are absolutely obvious. Even simply in the questions they ask me and how they conduct themselves around me, I can tell. I know immediately. I've been around here for about 20, 25 years. They say after a certain number of hours, right? I think it's like 10,000 hours. I don't know how many hours it takes. Things almost, become automatic. I've been doing tabligh for 15 years. This is my 15th Muharram. I'm not saying I know everything, but after a while, you get to pick up on these signs. And you get to know these things. And you see what flourishing spiritual families look like, and those that maybe need a little bit of help, a little bit more guidance, a little bit push along the way. I'm not saying they're bad, they just need a little bit of a push. So we got to read, my dear brothers. Have to. Kitab al-Irshad, the life of the Imams. Some of the works of Sayyid Munir al-Khabbaz that have been translated. There's so much. The 80 stories from the life of Allama Tabatabai. You can go now tonight and look it up on Al-Islam. How he was with his wife, how he was with his children, his love for Allah. One of our greatest commentators of the Quran in the 100 years. It's there, 80 stories. Each one is very short. They won't take you more than 5 minutes. Why not sit with your kids and read one story? Wouldn't that make a difference? These are practical things that we can do tonight in order to improve our spirituality. Number two, we have to have a devotional life outside of Shahr Ramadan. Shahr Ramadan is one out of the 12 months. We have to have a life of devotion and prayer and engagement with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outside the month of Ramadan. Did you know that Mafatihul Jinan has now been translated by Ali Quli Qara'i? There is a 2-volume translation with the Arabic and the English side by side. A beautiful translation. No excuses now. No excuses. Everything is available. And done at the highest level. Ali Quli Qara'i, the same translator of the Quran. It's available. Go on Amazon, you can order it. 2 volumes should be available, last I checked. Every house should have this. And then they know the du'as for that day. They can read the English. They know the amals for this week. They don't have to do everything but practice some of it. There's, again, no excuse. The only problem is our laziness and our ignorance. Our lack of will, or us thinking that we'll come to majlis and majlis will do this. But majlis don't do that. Majlis only supercharges or puts a turbo on what's already there. Majlis is not the fuel. The fuel has to be yourself. Our own efforts. So devotional life. Why is this devotional life important? Let me just give you an example of the teacher of my teacher, Abbas al-Qummi. Yes, my teacher was a student of Shaykh Abbas al-Qummi. That is an honor for me. Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Hussain al-Hussaini al-Jalali received his license in hadith from Shaykh Abbas al-Qummi at the age of 13. My teacher, Marhum Ayatollah al-Jalali, who passed away. Ayatollah Jalali was a student of Abbas al-Qummi. Abbas al-Qummi narrates, his son narrates this. One day he woke up, the writer of Mafatih al-Jinan, right? All our du'as, we read from this, right? Amal of Ramadan, all of these things. Probably like the most famous Shia alim probably in the world. I mean, because his book is everywhere after the Quran itself. He says, one day I woke up and I had a pain in my eye. I couldn't read. And imagine the life of an alim is reading. I mean, he's written so many books. If you want to read about the Shahadat Bibi Fatima, he's a book called The House of Sorrows, again translated into English. One of the most beautiful tellings about the Shahadat and the life of Bibi Fatima. Heart-rendering. Anyways, he woke up one day and he couldn't see out of one of his eyes. He had pain in his eyes. And his son says he was very distressed by this. Not only was it painful, but it was preventing him from continuing his writing and his research and his work in the holy city of Najaf where he lived. His son comes back sometime later to see his father. He says, "Father, how's your eye?" He said, "Alhamdulillah, it's fine." He said, "What happened?" He says, "I took one of the books with the hadith of Ahlul Bayt and I rubbed it on my eye. I turned towards Qibla. I made wudu, turned towards Qibla, and I took that book, which has the Kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, Sayyid Zahra, Holy Prophet. And he says, I rubbed it over my eye. Abbas Qummi liar? Na'udhu billah. Never. It's the compiler of Mafatih al-Jinan. The keys of paradise, imagine. Because they know that the kalam of Ahlul Bayt has an effect. It has an effect on our life. I mean, my teachers have seen these realities themselves. My teachers have seen these realities. I mean, I have teachers and met teachers who have seen these things, who themselves experienced these things. So we have to get closer to the kalam of Ahlul Bayt. And as a part of that devotion, equally, if not more important than that, I would say equally, is reciting the Quran. As Ayatollah Shaykh Wahid al-Khurasani tells us, so this is number 2, devotion. As a part of that devotion is every day we should recite the Quran. Every day, even if it's 10 verses. Before we go to work in the morning, we're on the musalla, we finish Salat al-Fajr. Hopefully we're praying Salat al-Fajr. I'm not going to the wajibat here, but I mean, yeah, that's wajib. We wake up for our morning prayer. We're on the musalla. Open the Quran. Read 10 verses. 10 verses, Baba. It's not difficult. You will see the noor of Allah fill your day from morning to night. Min sabah ila masa. And then when you get in the car, what is the first thing that you listen to? Put dua sabah. How hard is that? Make it a habit from tomorrow morning on your way to work. The dua of the morning. And it's all translated. Everything is available. Everything with English. Everything is available now. The most beautiful, poetic communion of love with God to be said at the first thing in the morning, right? The dua of the morning by Imam Ali. It's not only that, it's a linguistic masterpiece. I'll recite just 1 or 2 lines for you here. وَأَغْرِسْ اللَّهُمَّ بِعَظَمَتِكَ فِي شِرْبِ جِنَانِ يَنَابِعِ الْخُشُوعِ. The Imam says, oh God, this is dua sabah. Inshallah, tomorrow on your way to work, you listen to it. Oh God, oh Allah, by your greatness I ask that my heart become the fountain spring of your awe and trembling. Janabi is a spring. You know those hot springs that my heart become the spring of your awe and wonder. Khushu' is like to tremble. When you hear the God's name, you tremble. This is a sign of khushu'. For example, the Prophet says, the one who doesn't have khushu' does this and this in namaz. Right? Because the sign of the one who has khushu' in salah is they keep their hands straight. Because they're paying attention to God. He's saying, allow my heart to become the watering place, such that there's so much water, yanabi'ul khushu'. It becomes a spring, shedding that water, like pouring that water out, right? Because the light of God is coming out of my heart now. This is just one line from the dua, the prayer for the morning, right? The supplication of the morning. Then the Imam says, oh yeah, and also a very interesting point here. How many of you know what the word in Arabic is for heart? A lot of doctors here. What's the Arabic word for it? If you've been to ziyarah, been to medical, what do they use for heart? What's the word? Qalb. But Imam here uses the word jinani. Why did I say heart? Because it means heart. But it's a kind of heart that's jannati. Because it's from the same root word as Jannah. Can you imagine? The word Jinan also means the gardens of paradise, but it can also mean heart. That's profound. That your heart, when you pray to Allah in this way in the morning, becomes the very garden of paradise, that the trees of paradise begin to grow in your heart. This is just one line from one dua of Maulana Amir al-Mu'mineen, of a long dua. Salu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The Imam then goes on. Remember we spoke about Imam Ali last night. The Imam then goes on. He says, وَأَجْرِ اللَّهُمَّ لِحَيْبَتِكَ مِنْ زَفَرَاتِ دُمُوعٍ مِنْ زَفَرَاتِ دُمُوعٍ. The Imam says, and oh Allah, this is just mind-blowing. Like this is just, whoa. The Imam says, oh Allah, for your haiba, in like that because I know I'm standing in front of you. There's certain people. Haiba is what? Haiba is like when you're in front of someone and you know they're so great. Right? So for example, if you got an appointment with Ayatollah Sistani tomorrow, you had no idea what you would say to him. You have haiba. And when you see him, every time I go to see him, I have all sorts of questions. I don't know what to say. The cat caught my tongue. Because you're in front of a godly person, a person who's the naib of the imam, representative of the general representative of the 12th imam. These people carry a presence. Here he's talking about Allah. It's obviously Khaliq and Makhluk, creator and created. He's saying that when I'm in front of you, there's so much haiba. You're so great that I'm trembling in front of you to such an extent that, oh Allah, allow the tears to sob and flow from the very corners of my eyes. Zafarat dumu. A'maqi zafarat dumu. He doesn't say cry. He says, let it sob and let me pant. Zafarat is from zafara. When you exhale. When the diaphragm comes out and comes in, like when you're panting. He says, let me cry in such a way that I'm panting and shedding tears from the very inner corner of my eye. A'maqi. A'maqi is from ma'q, mu'q. Means eye, but no. It doesn't mean eye. Imam is not saying ayn here. It means the very inner corner of the eye. Let it shed tears in such a way that I'm sobbing in front of you. Allahu Akbar. Who but Amir al-Mu'mineen would speak this way, would use these kinds of words? Until now, there are masters and PhD dissertations being written right now on these sentences. Literally, there's an entire institute for the study of Nahj al-Balagha and Amir al-Mu'mineen. In fact, there are two, one in Karbala and one in Najab. And there are entire people that spend their entire life exploring the meaning of these few words from Dua Sabah. Can you imagine? The treasures that we have from the Imams, I don't know if we appreciate or we've begun on a journey of understanding this. So the treasure is there. It's up to us to uncover. And then we will see that, we will have that furqan, that criterion, that ability to distinguish between right and wrong. But it's up to us. Salu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I really wanted to narrate this hadith tonight because this is a night of Ali al-Akbar, night of Banu Hashim. This is one of the most profound traditions I have ever read on the subject. As I mentioned, in Al-Kafi, one of our most important books of hadith written by Al-Kulayni, who died in 329 Hijrah, very early, Kulayni narrates a hadith in a chapter known as a chapter on tears. Imagine, there's a whole section in hadith on tears only. In this chapter, what does Kulayni say? It's very important. He narrates here with his sanad going to Imam Sadiq, where Imam Sadiq says that everything in this world has a weight, has a wazn. Has a wazn. Ma min shay illa wa lahu kaylun wa waznun. Everything has a wazn, has a weight. I think wazn is maybe the same as in Urdu. Wazn is weight, right? So everything has a weight, Imam says. Illa dumu', except tears. By weight, we're not talking about physical weight. We're talking about that it can be accounted for, like on the day of judgment, you did this many good deeds, you did this many good deeds, kind of things start, the accounting begins, right? The balance sheet. Tears are so great that they surpass any ability for there to be an accounting done of it. فَإِنَّ الْقَطْرَةَ تُطْفِئُ بِهَارٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. For one drop of tear puts out an entire sea of the fire. One drop, qatra. Not sobbing. Qatra. Qatra is a drop. Qatar. A drop of a tear puts out a sea of nar and fire. فَإِذَا أغرورقتي العين. Even the words are very difficult, even for me to pronounce. إذا أغرورقتي العين. Here the أغرورقتي means, the Arabic is just, I don't want to, I'll keep going. It means when the eyes fill up, they well up. There's a word only for welling up of the tears. Yeah. So when you begin to feel that tears are coming, but they haven't come yet, right? The eye wells up. It begins to get moist. The moistness starts. What happens then, the Imam says? He says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He says, Lam yarhak wajhan qatrun. There's an ayah from the Quran. He says that just for this moment, this person's face they will face no humiliation on Yawm al-Qiyamah. That when everyone else's face will be black, not black in color, but black in terms of their sins, they will not experience this. This is in a verse from the Quran. Just for your eye welling up with tears, filling up. وَإِذَا فَادَتْ, and when it pours, when it comes, Allah, He says, حَرَّمَهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى النَّارِ. Allah makes the fire of hell haram for him. Haram. He says then, if only the ummah understood, if only someone from the ummah knew to cry, had a heart by which to cry, Allah would have mercy upon them. Allah's mercy is with those who cry. In fact, we have a hadith of Imam Sadiq who says, a hadith Qudsi, where Allah says, I love the sobbing and crying of the sinner more than the worshipping of the dutiful one. Allah loves the sound of our sobbing. That's why Imam Ali says that, let me pour tears from the corners of my eyes. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And it is on this night that the ladies began to cry. The women of Ahlul Bayt were wailing and wailing as the sound of al-atash, al-atash, al-atash. Thirst, thirst, thirst. And the women are crying. And Abu Abdullah on this day had to make very difficult choices. Muslim bin Osaja is gone. Habib is gone. Many are gone now. But now Ali Akbar, 25, maybe 28 years old. His mother was Layla bint Abi Murra. Now had to go. The traditions tell us he had Haydar's might, the Prophet's bravery, the Prophet's speech, and Hussein's sabr and patience. What a combination. He was a father himself, in fact. Imam Hussein was a grandfather. Ali Akbar had children of his own. Tabari narrates something very interesting, that one day Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, well, rather they were on their way to Karbala and he was with Ali Akbar. And the Imam had his head down. And Ali Akbar was looking at him and saw that his father looked like he had something deep in his thought. So Imam Hussein turns to him and he says to him that people journey in this world and their dreams journey towards them. Ali Akbar knew that this was an expression of death, that death is getting close. So he asks his father, Alasna ala al-haq? Father, are we not on truth? And his father says, yes, we are. To which Ali then says, then I do not fear death, Father. I am ready to die. If you say we are on truth, then I am ready to die. This is Ali al-Akbar. Abu Abdullah took so much pride in this child. As we know, he was the closest to the Prophet in his speech and in his physical appearance. Imam Az-Zaman tells us in Ziyarat al-Nahiya, Assalamu alayka ya awwala qatilin min nasl al-salil, that peace be upon the first to be killed from the purified progeny. Min sulalati Ibrahim al-Khalil, right, from the descendants of Abraham, of Ibrahim. Ali Akbar now looks at Imam al-Hussein and he sees the ghurbat of the Imam, because Habib is gone, Muslim bin Osaj is gone, Zuhair bin Qayn is gone. I mean, all his big supporters are now gone. Ali Akbar looks at his father, and the riwayah says, Arkha aynay bil dumu', that his father looked at Ali Akbar and the tears began to come down the cheeks of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Because Ali Akbar knew what he was looking at Imam for, and Imam knew what Ali Akbar was looking at him for. The two knew each other already. They knew what this was about. And at that point, the Imam says, oh Wallah, I testify to these people that this young lad resembles most the Prophet in his appearance and in his speech. Oh Allah, deny these oppressors any blessings in the earth. Oh Allah, tear them up. Oh Allah, never let them be happy again. Oh Allah, they wished to kill us, for they called upon us to help us. Imam felt betrayed. The earth of Karbala would have been shaking by now from the dua, from the bad dua of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, from this dua against them, from this dua of the feeling of betrayal. And at this point, you began to hear the women say something. I'll narrate to you tonight, mu'mineen. They said, Irham ghurbatana, have mercy on our loneliness. This was the cry of Rubab. This is the cry of Zainab. This is a cry of Kulthum alayhinna salam. Irham ala ghurbatina. We are lonely without you, O Ali, O Ali, O Ali, meaning Ali al-Akbar. He was fed by them. La tasta'jal ya Ali. O Ali, do not go too fast to fight. Do not go too fast to fight. But what does Hussein do now? He dresses Ali up. He puts his turban on him. He puts the armor on him. He gets him ready, even with the amama of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the very turban of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Hussein now gives Ali Akbar his horse, a special horse that he had for him. Ali Akbar goes now forth to fight. He says, Ana Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali. I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. We are Baytullah Awla bin Nabi. We are the house of God, the most beloved to the Prophet. May God curse this person. May God curse those that are now fighting us. Abu Abdullah began to cry as he's watching his son for Baka al-Hussein. Baka al-Hussein bukaan shadida. And he says, Inna Allah astafa Adama wa Nuhan wa ala Ibrahim wa ala Imran ala al-Alameen. Imam begins to recite Quran about the selection of Ahlul Bayt. Dhurriyatan ba'duha min ba'd wallahu sami'un alim. Imam begins to recite Quran. Ali Akbar is fighting from right to left. He kills 120 men. The thirst was killing him. He now rides back to his father. Do I relate these words to you? He says, Ya Abal Atash qad qatalani. Oh my father, the thirst is killing me. With thiqlul hadid ajhadani. And oh my father, the weight of this armor is overcoming me. Hel ila shurbatan min al-ma sabil. Is there any way I can drink? Is there any sabil for water now? Oh my father. Hussein looks at Ali. Ali Akbar looks at Hussein. He tells him, shall break your heart, let a drop flow. This is the tear that puts out the fire of hell, mu'mineen. Imam says, how will I find water for you, oh my son? Imam had no jawab for Ali al-Akbar. Wa Husayna wa Imama. He says, how soon you will meet your grandfather? Your grandfather will give you something to drink. Then the riwayah says that the Imam took off his holy ring, his sacred ring. He put the ring in the mouth of Ali al-Akbar. Ali Akbar goes out to fight again. He is charging. He kills 80 opponents. But now he says, war has confronted us with its realities. Ali Akbar fought now 200 men, but it was too much for him. They now fired an arrow. Where does the arrow land, mu'mineen? Where does the arrow land? It lands in the throat of Ali al-Akbar. The blood is now gushing out of his throat. Hussein is watching Ali al-Akbar. They now begin to stab him over and over again. Darabu an-nas bi asyafihim. They're cutting him from left and right, over and over again. And now, Ya Sahib Zaman, how do we recite this? How do we recite this? The riwayah says, and when his soul reached the top of his throat and he's about to die, he says, Alayka minni salam, Ya Bata. Ya Bata, hada jaddi Rasulullah. Oh my father, this is Rasulullah. This is Rasulullah giving me a drink of water. He's telling me, come quick, come quick. They were showering Ali Akbar with arrows. At this point, Ali Akbar, of course, has fallen off of his horse. He is on the ground. Imam al-Hussein now races out into the battlefield. And he says, Waladi Ali, my son Ali, my son Ali. He throws himself onto the body of Ali al-Akbar. He says, Qatalallah qawman qataluk. May Allah kill those who killed you, Ya Bunayya, oh my son. The eyes of Hussein was filled with tears. He says, Ala dunya ba'daka al-afa. After you, this world is worthless. How dare they defy the Rahman? How dare they defy Defy the messenger of Allah. Hard it is upon your grandfather and your father that they cannot respond to you when you call upon them. This is the helplessness of Imam Hussein. Ayatollah Bahrul Ulum and others narrate to us that when Hussein fell onto the body, his son was close to his death. He dies. Imam Hussein now orders the young men of Banu Hashim to carry the body back to the tent. Abu Mikhnaf narrates through Hamid bin Muslim, who says that he saw a woman come out of the tent, mu'mineen. A woman came out of the tent. She was shining like the sun, and she was just crying out, "Wa habiba, wa thamarat fuada." Oh my love, oh the apple of my heart. Hamid asked, "Who is this woman?" He says, "This is Zainab bint Ali." She is crying. The historian said Hussein has fallen silent. Zainab comes onto the body of Ali al-Akbar. Imam orders that the body of Ali Akbar be taken into the tent. Imam now takes the head of Ali al-Akbar. He puts the head of Ali al-Akbar in his lap. Imam now has the head of Ali al-Akbar in his lap. He begins to wipe the sand and blood from the face of Ali al-Akbar. He says, "La'nallah qatilak, la'nallah qatilak, la'nallah qatilak." May Allah curse your killer, oh my son. May Allah curse your killer. Then a little girl comes into the tent. Sakina comes in. She sees Hussein. Hussein sees her. He turns his face from her and she begins to run out of the tent. Hussein grabs her hand. He puts her in his lap. And he says, "Sabran, sabra." Patience, oh my daughter, sabran, sabra. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Matima Hussein. Say